All right, welcome peeps. Today we're gonna review chapter 2 in Outliers, and the chapter is called the 10,000 hour rule. And we're gonna take our butcher paper notes and convert them into a Photoshop document. Okay, so the first thing I'm gonna do is open up Photoshop, and I've already got that open right here. And then I'm gonna create a new file. So I'm gonna go File, New, and this is going to be an 8.5 by 11 document, and I'm going to go ahead and give it a name, and this is going to be Outliers Chapter 2 Butcher Paper Notes. And I'm going to set my resolution to 300, and I'm going to go ahead and keep my background contents at white. I'm going to click OK. And the next thing I need to do is I need to open up my notes that I took the picture of. So I'm going to go File, Open, and I need to navigate to the U drive. So I'm going to go to a different place than you are, but it's, or not the U drive, the P drive. So here's the P drive right here. It's CHS. It'll be shared drive on your computer on the left hand side. So you go to P drive, you won't see it as CHS, you'll just see it as shared, and then you'll see the list over here in the right hand column. So I'm going to scroll down to the handouts folder, and then scroll down to syncs, folder syncs, and then 2016-17, E4, Outliers, Butcher Paper Notes, chapters 1 and 2, and then I need to look for my image, which I believe is somewhere. Not in that one. I gotta just click here, click around. Can't remember exactly which one it is. Apologize for the delay here. Let's see. Let's just do it this way. There it is. 92.95. Okay. Open that bad boy up. There are my notes. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock my layer. So I'm going to double click that, click OK. And then I'm going to go ahead and take my crop tool and crop this down a little bit, just so that I just see what I need to see. Take out some of those other notes that I had in there. You'll notice that there's a section over here that was somebody else's, but that's okay. Okay, so this is called the 10,000 hour rule, and if you look at my notes, I have this nice large 10,000 thing right in the middle, and I think I'm going to center my notes around that. But before I do that, I'm going to make sure that I put a heading on the front, on the top here, just like I had before previously. Now, maybe to save time, I can just quickly grab what I did last time. So I'm going to go ahead and do that real quick. I'm going to open and go back to my P drive. This is where I've saved my previous notes, and I'm looking for that file, and there it is, Butcher Paper Outline Notes. So I can just quickly, and that way most of my text and stuff is consistent. You guys can create a whole new heading if you'd like, but I'm just going to go ahead and grab the ones that I did before. So I need that layer. There's my Outliers, Butcher Paper Notes there. So I'm going to click that layer. Let's see which, I need that. Go all the way down here. I need that shape. There it is. That's that rectangular shape. So I'm going to scroll up there and find my other text layer and press the Control key. So that way I grab the text and the shape, and with my move tool, just click and drag over here to my other one, or you could just hit copy paste if you'd like, and then drop that in. Okay, easy enough. Then I want to make sure I put my name underneath right there, so I'm going to grab my text tool and type in my name. And then some of this should be easy enough for you guys by now, so you could probably just skip through some of this. That's okay. Alright, change. Remember, if you don't have your character window open, you can go up to Window, Character, and then that way you can change your text as you'd like. I'm going to change mine to the same text that I used before and change the font down to something smaller. Maybe not that small. Maybe 24. There we go. And then move that back up where I want it to go. All right. Okay, so next I want to go back to my notes here. I'm going to close this file that I had open and go back to my notes and pull out the most essential part of this piece, which is this 10,000 hours section right here. I'm going to grab my lasso tool. So one of the things that I think is super important about this chapter to remember, and as our author points out, is that 10,000 hours is an enormous amount of time. So I'm going to highlight that with my lasso tool, grab my move tool, and then cut this out, and then bring it into my other document, and then drop it in. And then I'm going to make this large, and then adjust the orientation of it right there. And I'm going to do my notes as kind of like a web piece this time on my piece, rather than kind of, the way I did it last time. I was all over the place. So I'm going to focus on this 10,000 hour central idea in my notes. And you can read there, I say 10,000 hours is an enormous amount of time. One of the things, or two of the things that I think are essential to this idea is that in order to gain that amount of time, you can't be poor. As Malcolm Gladwell points out, like people who don't have the means to, or have not of means, often have to, like, say, hold part-time jobs, or things like that, and just don't have the physical amount of time to reach that 10,000 hours. Plus, you also need a ton of support to get there, from friends and etc. Okay? So I'm going to grab my magic wand tool here, and I want to cut out this grayish stuff and get rid of that, and then get rid of all the gray stuff on the inside too. So I just have my text as it is. And if you would like, we can put this 10,000 hours in a type of circle, so that it, we can get that idea of the web piece. Or you can use a custom shape if you'd like a bubble or something like that. I'm just going to go ahead and use a circle. And you notice my fill up here is kind of a nice lime green. I'm actually going to do, let's see, I'm going to do no fill, and then I want to do a stroke. And on the stroke, I want to do a solid color that is nice and bright looking. So I'm going to use a red. And the thickness of that stroke, I want it to be pretty thick. So I'm actually going to type in, like 4 points there. Okay. So I'm going to I'm going to draw that circle out right around my hours there. And so then we have our 10,000 hour piece. And then I'm going to go ahead and grab my move tool again and grab those two images and make sure that this is nice and centered. Remember, it's a good idea to rename your layers. So where I have layer 1 there, I'm going to double click inside that layer and call this the 10,000 hour piece. And the ellipse, the shape, is the 10,000 hour circle. Okay, there we go. Alright, I'm going to come back to my notes here just so I can see what are my next steps. What do I want to look at in terms of what I want to add, and I hit just Control D there to deselect. So let's see here. I have such things as achievement equals talent plus preparation. Is there such a thing as innate ability? Yes and no. Music study, no naturals, no grinds. It takes the brain this 10,000 hours to assimilate all that it needs to know to achieve true mastery. Okay, so that's a great quote, and I can't really read it all that well. So I want to make sure I get that in somehow. So I'm going to take my lasso tool, cut this out again. And I don't know if I'm going to actually use the quote or use the actual notes from the butcher paper, for me, I might retype this just so it's a little clearer. I'm going to drop that in there. I just want to be able to, rewrite this so it's a little bit cleaner in my piece, because you notice that my handwriting was kind of sloppy there. Okay, so I want to do a quote piece. I'm going to take my text tool and I'm going to put this right underneath. You know what? Actually, I kind of want to put this above, but I'll just go ahead and put the quote in, and then I'll move it here in just a minute. I don't want to center this, so I'm going to come over to my paragraph tool and left align that, and then I'm just going to type in the quote. It takes the brain this, which refers to the 10,000 hours. So I'm actually going to use brackets instead of quotes. 10,000 hours, because I'm putting words into this person's quote. So that's why I'm using brackets instead of parentheses to assimilate. Oh, dang it! I got my spacing off again. So I'll jump back to my character. Highlight that. I don't know why it goes back to 95 lately. Okay, let's switch that to auto. There we go. It takes the brain this 10,000 hours to assimilate all that it needs to know to achieve true mastery. And I'm going to use those big quote things like we did in the previous tutorial, but before I move on, I want to make sure I do a spell check. So I'm going to highlight that section, go up to edit. Oh shoot, I have to switch over to the move tool, I think. Edit, there we go. Check spelling. I did spell achieve wrong, I thought I did. It's IE, so we want to change that. And there we go, done. Okay. So now I can get rid of that layer that I brought in. I don't want it there, so I'm just going to delete it, highlight it in my layers panel. And then grab the quote piece, and I want to put this right above it. I decided I want to put that right above there. Okay. And I think I want to move this up a little bit. I might use an arrow of some sort. No, I think I'll just put it right there. We'll make it look just like that. Okay. Then I want to add those, really nice large quotes like I did before with my last tutorial. So to do that, make a box, put in 2 quote marks, and I'm just going to go ahead and use I'm going to use these quote marks instead of changing them. And then highlight that, Control X it out, and then click on that layer and make a new layer, text layer, and then paste it in there. And I'm just going to make this super large. Change that. Oh, I don't want that small. I'm going to change it to 100 pixels just by typing that in there. And then I want to move it up. Okay, and then take the other quote mark there, change that to 100 pixels up here, and change my font size. Oh, I changed my quote. Changed the way the quotes appear in there. So here's what I'm going to do. After that, I'm going to rotate it around just like that. Boom. Take my move tool and then drop that in right there. Oops, move it up. Okay, so I got my quote right above the 10,000 hour piece. I'm going to go ahead and save this real quick, save as I go. So I'm going to File, Save As. Make sure you save this in your U drive. I'm going to save this in where I'm putting the rest of my notes for you guys for later on. And okay, just hit save. Come back to my image here, Control D, and kind of take a look around. So I've got a couple of different examples that I think are important to illustrate what this really means. I like my little thing of stream of opportunities. I got to figure out where to put that though. So I have examples of Bill Joy and then Bill Gates, and then also the Beatles. So I think in my piece, I'm going to put those as separate lines and arrows that go out here to illustrate the 10,000 hour rule. So I'm going to start with Bill Joy. Let's see. 1971, U of Michigan, Go Wolverines. That's kind of that stream of opportunity piece that we were talking about earlier in cumulative advantage. But let's start with Bill Joy, 16 years of age. So I'm going to grab, I need to grab probably not all of this, but some of it. So I'm just going to grab from 1971, and I'm going to end up cutting out some of this, not being able to use all of it because the space that I have here isn't going to work all where I want it. So I'm going to cut this out, go to the other tab, and then drop that in. And then I want to resize this, make it larger, and then turn it. Let's see, I want to put it like right in here, and I want to get rid of all this gray so it's, not taking up space. I'm going to hit enter return there and grab my magic wand tool, click on a gray area, and then delete all that out. Control D. I'm going to go ahead and leave some of these things colored. I could actually go in, zoom in here a little bit, and use my use my space bar to move around to the different parts. Grab my move tool again and push this down as far as I can go into the corner. I want to put a little arrow over here to this side in terms of these are my examples. Okay, so Bill Joy, 16 years of age, 1971, U of Michigan, Go Wolverines. Okay, so that's important. That's a little bit of important information there that I want to, I want to put, like, what does that mean, 1971, U of Michigan? Why is that important? Well, if you remember, it was one of the first computer mainframes to let, it had a first computer mainframe, first university to have time sharing, which allowed Bill Joy to program all he wanted. So I'm going to grab my custom shape tool and then come up here and look for an arrow, probably a like arrow that I used before. I'm going to go ahead and use a squiggly arrow. Why not? Be kind of fun. And squiggly arrow, let's see, U of Michigan. I'm going to put a little, oops, it wants to go that way. I'm going to have to change it where it's going later. Make it a little bit skinnier. Take my move tool, turn this around. I don't want it that long. Change that. Okay, and then hit enter return. I want to outline that shape, so I'm just going to come over here to my shape layer and move that up above the quotes. Actually, where is that one layer? This layer. Okay, so this is my Bill Joy example. I need to rename that layer, so slow double click in there. Bill Joy example. Okay, and move that up above underneath the shape layer so those layers are close together. I'm going to rename this shape 1 to squig arrow. And I'm going to add a stroke around that. So I'm just going to layer effects and put a really small black stroke around it just to keep it nice and outlined. Okay, so 1971, U of Michigan, Go Wolverines. Woo. And pull back, and it was, I can't really read this, so computer mainframe, first university to have time sharing. So I'm going to go ahead and take my text tool and type this out. Say first, and I wonder if you can see what's going on here. Probably not, because I have it really large. So I'm going to click on my layer, and you notice that it has first, but you can't see anything over here. Come over my character window and change that from 100 point to 8. Actually, what would we have? 20. Yeah, let's go ahead and make it 18. Click back into my text tool there. So first university, don't need to capitalize it. First university to Go back to my notes. Sorry, my email keeps popping up. Probably just need to turn that off. To have a time sharing computer. Time sharing. I think my kern is really tight. Can't really see some of that text goes super tight together, so I'm gonna change that to 0 there, and then make this a little bit longer. I think it's a little bit too big. Change that from 18 pixels. I don't want 14, so let's change that to 16. And then I'm going to go ahead and rotate this to get up to 90 there. One more time. Close enough. And then I'm going to move this up here so that it kind of goes into my margins right there. Okay, so oops, Control Z. There we go. Control Z when you screwed up and didn't mean to. Okay. Alright, so I got first university to have time sharing computer. Bill Joy, 16 years. I don't want the 16 years of age thing in there because it goes to developing internet microsystems Java. Maybe I should. That just goes to his thing. 16 years of age is when he went to college. So I don't know if that's actually as pertinent as I need it to be in my notes here. So I'm going to go ahead and take my lasso tool, come back to my Bill Joy example layer, and then I'm just going to just cut that out right there. Delete that, and then Control D to deselect. Okay, so but what I do want to do is he's like Edison of the internet, so I want to put in let's see, he worked on Unix, Internet Microsystems, Java. Okay, so super important on kind of his what do you call it? His resume of sorts. So I'm gonna go ahead and make a little text box this way. I'll go over a couple things here. So I'm gonna put Unix. These are like his number 1 Unix. Okay, 2 you could say internet, right? And I probably need to make this text a little bit smaller, so I'm gonna highlight that, change that from 16 point to 14 point. There we go. Okay, and then 3 microsystems, right? Microsystems or Sun Microsystems. I believe that's what it's called. Sun Microsystems, and then 4 Java, which is huge, as we all know. Okay, so maybe I should put like resume up here. So I'm gonna take a return key here and type in resume, and then I'm gonna highlight that, make it bold, make it underlined, so that that's pretty clear as to what that means right there. Go back to my notes. Okay, so part of this, time sharing piece, 8 to 10 hours a day programming for, however many years, right? And then went on to Berkeley and yada yada yada. Kind of the rest is history. So let's see here where I want to put first university to have time sharing computer. Let's see, kind of get to 10,000 hours. Let's do something like this. Well, let's grab it from our notes so we don't have to type it in. Highlight that, 8 to 10 hours a day of programming, move tool, click and drag it out, drop it in. Let's go ahead and rotate that, make it a little bit bigger. And then hit enter return, take my magic wand tool and get rid of all that grayness, and Control D. Now let's move it again, make it a little bit bigger. Okay, so we might say like multiply by how many days, and that kind of equals the 10,000 hours, right? So maybe I just type in text, just do this. Type in the equals, oops, plus some, make that really large. So 100 points. I need to be a little bit bigger there. There we go. And I'm going to rotate this. Boom. Take my move tool, kind of do like a, oops, didn't mean to do that, Control Z, meant to rotate it. There we go, equals 10,000 hours. Okay, there we go. Alright, so that's my first example. I definitely want to put an arrow to that as well. So if you remember, I did a squig arrow. I don't want to do that for my example arrow. So I'm going to go back to my shape tool and grab, let's go ahead and let's do one that looks like the mouse, because we're talking about computers here, aren't we? So boom, change that, and go ahead and draw my mouse arrow. And take this, and it's going to be outlined instead of that. I'm going to change that here in just a sec. And change that, hit apply, yes. Grab this, oh, too big. Let's change that up a little bit. Okay, and then I want to definitely change this, the properties of this. So I'm going to hit cancel and open up window, properties, and let's see, not what I was looking for. Let's double click this. Okay, I'm going to have to try this again. Delete that shape out of there. Go back to my custom shapes and then change my properties up here. Change that from no fill to solid, and then change the stroke to solid, but I only want like a 1 point there. I don't want that color, I want black. So by changing all my properties up here, it should change that. I want, yeah, I'll go ahead and do a red outline, why not? And let's see here, here we go. And then flip that around. Kind of looks like I gotta, there we go. Okay, so my example number 1, 10,000 hours. Okay, kind of do a minimum zoom out here and see where I'm at. Let's go back to my notes, Control D. Bill Gates is my next example, so I'm going to grab my lasso tool. There's not as much here. Oops, Control Z, got a little carried away with my lasso tool. Let's get in there, pull that out. We all know who Bill Gates is, so this is a pretty important example. I didn't get around that information well enough. Okay, here we go. Boom. Okay, cut that out. Bring it in here. Pull that up. And hit enter return. Take my magic wand tool, get rid of all that gray, and then move the text. Oops, Control Z, didn't grab that. There we go. Move that down a little bit. I'm gonna need to kind of cut this up a little bit so I can see it well. I'm gonna come over to my layers panel real quick and rename this. Double click and return. Double click slow. There we go. Gates example. And in my layers panel, I want to just move this up to the top, so it's, you know, I'm kind of going in order here in my layers, so I know where to find stuff later on. I want to lasso out a little bit of this text so I can break it up. It's kind of long, so let me see, how do I want to do this? Go ahead and move this real quick. I want to get a quick line in here, and I don't want to stroke around it, so I'm going to double click no stroke right there and fill, and I just want to, you know, create just a, so clicking the shift key, I'm just going to click and drag down, so I just have a division between, you know, the divide. So I'm going to just do divide line in the layers menu there. Move that up, move my Gates example up. Okay, then I'm going to take my magic wand tool, and what I'd like to do is cut out part of this this part of the text right there because it's just a little long. So then what I'm going to do, highlight that. I'm going to go up to image. No, I'm sorry, not image. Layer, new, layer via layer via cut because I don't. I just want part of it. So I just want to go Gates text. Okay, so then I have two separate layers that I can position where I need to. So I'm going to grab Gates example and move that up. Oh, it looks like time sharing directly. Oh, looks like I got part of it that I didn't mean to. Grab my wand tool. I don't think I need this part. I'm going to go ahead and delete that out so it just makes it easier. Okay, so I have Gates, Lakeside School, 8th graders, and then the cool thing about this is that, it's 3K for a computer terminal ASR time sharing direct link to a, a time sharing computer. So what I'm going to do is I actually want to make this a little bit smaller and turn this sideways, bring it down just a little bit, and just want to turn it, and I'm going to put it, making a little bit of room here and hitting the shift key and this may or may not work, I'm not positive, it's a little small. It's probably too small, isn't it? Let's do a Control-Alt-Z there, get it out. Let's just go ahead and put it on the bottom, right there. Okay, so let's see here. By the time he was in 8th grade, he was programming every day for hours, right? So let's just put that in there as text. Programming, and I believe this is probably large again, so change that. And if you ever run into this, you guys, where your text is too large and it doesn't show up in your text box that you create, just go ahead and just stop, because eventually, like if you don't, you'll end up with all these extra layers that you can't see. So then what I do is I just click on my move tool real quick and make sure that layer is highlighted in my layers panel. Click on my text tool and then just resize it so then you can see it. So let's go ahead and do 14 pixels there. Get my text tool again. Type in, programming, every day for hours, until he's, until he graduates high school, and then goes to, did he go to Stanford or Harvard? I think it was Stanford. Goes to Stanford and then drops out like his sophomore year, something like that, in Stanford. But by the time he reaches that grade level, by the time goes to Stanford, and then you can, let's delete that. So by the time he drops out, he has probably programmed well beyond his 10,000 hours before he started Microsoft. 10,000 hours, and then starts Microsoft, and the rest is history. Okay, so let's get that in there. It's my second example, and I want to get that other arrow, which is not, yep, there it is. So we're just going to do like mouse arrow, so I remember which one this is later on. And take my move tool and then copy that, so I'm going to hit the Alt key, grab that, and turn it down this way, pointing to Gates. Looks like I'm going to need to resize it, so I'm going to hit the Shift key, resize it, hit Enter Return, and then move my mouse out here so it'll grab it. Okay, so there we go. So there's Gates. And then I have my divide line. I want to copy that one, so I'm going to hit the Alt key again with my move tool and just come to the side of it there. And when you get that double arrow, then you can pull it out. And I think I'm going to need to turn this just a little bit so it fits. Hit enter return. There we go, and then move it this way. I can use this as much as I can. There we go. Hit that. Okay, so then we have the Beatles. Come back to my notes, and you'll notice that in my notes, hit the space bar, move this over. I have Beatles, and I drew a little yellow submarine. It's not yellow, but I did draw a submarine. So I want to grab all of that, and I want to pull all of this out. Oops, Control D. Oops, cancel that. Wrong key. Control. There we go. Okay. Circle this whole section here, and then grab my move tool, and then click and drag that into my document. And I'm going to go ahead and let's see, I'm going to break some of this apart, but I do want to move my layer up to the very top, and then I want to rename it the Beatles example. Okay, so grab my magic wand tool, cut out all the gray, and Control plus a little bit so I can zoom in, see what I'm doing. I need to cut some of this out, like this black stuff. So I'm going to circle that section out of there and delete it. Control D, and then grab my move tool, and I'm going to go ahead and turn this. Let's see here. Let's see how this is going to fit here. Kind of move this way. There we go. Okay, so this is going to move just like that inside my example. Enter return key. I would like to change my gray color here to the yellow to represent the yellow submarine. So I'm going to delete out all the gray. And then I'm going to click on my color palette and grab a yellow, and then grab my paint bucket tool underneath the gradient tool and fill that with yellow. There we go. And so remember that the Beatles, the Hamburg, he called it the Hamburg Crucible. So they played 106 nights and plus 41 hours a week, and they played that 3 times, so that by the time they performed live 1,200 times by 1964, before they even got to the United States. So I want to grab my custom shape tool. Actually, you know what? I already have one of these. I have a squig line, squig arrow. There it is. I want to just copy that. Let's see, where did I leave that? There we go. Grab my move tool and click the Alt key, and copy that squig line this way, and then zoom in again, so Control plus, too much. Resize this arrow, so I'm going to hit the Shift key and make it a little bit smaller, and then I'm going to turn it so that, hit the enter return key there so I can move it, and so can I show right there. So they performed live 1,200 times by 1964, before they went to the United States, before they became an invade, like what they call the U.S. invasion tour, and just dominated the music scene for so many years. So there's our third example. We need another arrow to go along with that, so I'm going to scroll down there. There's my other mouse arrow. And click the Alt button, and click and drag that way. And turn it sideways. Might need to make it oops. Hello. Hit the enter return key. Move that this way. A little bit too large. Making it smaller. There we go. Okay, so here we go. I've got my 3 examples. One is obviously the Bill Joy, and then the Gates, and then Beatles. These are the the 10,000 hour rules. These are the examples of people that have spent time, and clear-cut examples of people that have made it and are becoming what we call outliers. We have some of this other stuff up here that I haven't quite gotten into yet. There's this equation of achievement equals talent plus prep. Is there such a thing as innate ability? Yes and no. Well, as Malcolm Gladwell will argue that the practice goes hand in hand with the talent. So I do want to put achievement equals talent plus prep. So I'm actually just going to do that as text appear nice and large. I'm going to do achievement. Oh, my text is yellow. Lame. Highlight that. Come up here to my color changer there. Boom. Make that black. I want to make this big too. I'm going to change this from 14 point to 18 point. Maybe even larger. 24. Let's go 24. No. 30. Okay. So achievement equals talent plus prep or preparation. I'm actually going to change this to not book, but the Avenue big one that I was using before. And I'm going to see if I can, just how big can I get this in this box. Right now I have it 30, make it 36. Oh, just not quite. Maybe I can adjust the kerning so it will fit. Boom, negative 75, too much. There we go, perfect, exactly where I want it. Okay, achievement equals talent plus prep. There we go. Back to my notes here. Let's see. There was that study of music study, right? Like with Beethoven and his Ninth Symphony. And by the time he was 21 years old, he had written the Ninth Concerto. But by that time, he had already been composing music for some 20 years or whatever. So in terms of the music study, they broke it down to the masters, 10,000 hours of practice, the great performers, 8,000 hours of practice, and the music teachers, like 2,000 hours of practice. So I want to get that in there. I want to sneak that in there somehow. So I think I'm gonna put it right. Oops, grab that on accident. So let's get there. There we go. Okay, make sure. There we go. Kind of sneak that in here. I'm just gonna put music and my character and center that. And I want to move this up a little bit and see if I can't fit this in a little bit better. Okay, I'm gonna hit the enter return key. So 10,000 hours, and then underneath that, like masters, I need to put 10,000 hours RHRS, and then return 8,000 hours. Great. I just think this is so funny, by the way. The 2,000 hours, they're music teachers. Okay. Perfect. Alright, I think that'll work. Maybe I should spend a little bit of time here with this. I'm going to change that to all caps and underline. And then, let's see here, probably should. Maybe we should make these like bigger and smaller as they go. So let's go ahead and make that 30 and make this 20 and make music teachers 18. So we kind of have this like, bigger, smaller action. Kind of like that idea. And stick that in there. Boom. Okay. Last but not least, let's double check to make sure I didn't miss anything in my notes here. I got my quote, got my examples, got Bill Joy. I think I'm sitting pretty good. Now there's another part of this chapter that didn't make it onto my notes because we didn't quite finish the rest of the chapter. But I have a different idea for that in terms of what I want to do for that example that he leaves towards the end of the book. I did have a little bit of extra space over here. I totally could put like a picture of Beethoven, something like that as another example. But I think this is pretty good. Oh, I do have one thing that I forgot: stream of opportunities, and he did mention this, and that's what I'll fill it in. I'll fill that area with this. Because if you look at Bill Joy and Bill Gates, it wasn't just that they had, the one opportunity, right? With the University of Michigan, like with Bill Gates, it was all about this stream of opportunities in terms of, the first one was the Lakeside eighth grade school, like, having one of the only terminals in, a school system. You might even say the first part of his stream of opportunities was that his parents put him into a private school, and they had the means to do so. And without the means of to do so, he wouldn't be able to go to private school if he didn't have the means to go to that private school, and private school didn't raise the money to have that the only time sharing computer in the nation. The history or Microsoft would be completely different. Okay, so there we go. That's going to end my tutorial. Don't forget to hit Control S and save your piece. Right now it's just the Photoshop piece, so I'm going to go up to File, Save As, and save this as a JPEG so that I can submit it this way. Oh, don't want to do low quality, do the maximum quality. Spin that baby up all the way to the top. You could probably do high. Let's go ahead and do that. And go ahead and hit OK. Again, like before, you are welcome to copy and use some of the same examples and notes that I have had used. You can even do the exact same design and notes as I did. You can do your own. The idea here is that you get the information down and as another tool to both learn how to use Photoshop and process and understand the book. So until next time, chapter 3, which is the trouble with geniuses.